How about now?
Yes, there we go.
So I'm sure my dear mother dropped dime on us, so now we're being actively hunted because she's angry.
That is not that far from the absolute 100% truth of the matter.
Yeah, but snitches get stitches, though.
Right?
Stitches can be sexy.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my papers that I have coming up and trying to plan.
Oh, yes. I don't miss those days of plotting coursework between work.
I have the week of the 26th. I have 4 papers due that week.
Oh. Well, now. Well, luckily you can BS a lot of the substance with just citing all of your sources.
Right? I'm excellent at that. Except 2 of them don't require sources. They're case studies.
Oh, lovely.
So if I happen to, not show up or show up and just, not do anything, that's why.
No, understandable. Coursework is a chore, and I just speaking from personal experience, it was one of the most brain-numbingly draining experiences for me, at least. It was because a lot of what I did was based on mechanical schematics. So a lot of the sources were preparing the various schematics of different systems, which is dry in and of itself. Even just the wire map of most systems is absolutely fundamentally brain numbing. It's like looking at a maze where there is no out. So yeah, it makes you dumber in the moment. At least for me, it made me dumber in the moment because it just took so much brain power to sort through it. But all in all, hi folks, how we doing?
Living that dream.
Yeah.
Clearly not smoking over here.
Well, see, that wasn't me. That was Lucio. I don't know if he smoked.
Well, actually, I don't smoke, but I had a phenomenal week, and it ties into the mini announcement that I have to make. I let Miriam know early, but as of Friday of last week, I finally heard back from Deborah Heart and Lung Center, and they are hiring me as the per diem pharmacist.
Welcome.
So exciting!
So since it's part-time per diem, I'll still be at CVS. Basically, I'm going to be working 2 jobs, but it's finally a foot in the door and a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, congratulations. Definitively in order.
Thank you. With that being said, though, I don't currently know what my set schedule will be because they do want me to have at least one day that I work a week in order to keep a consistent schedule and not lose the skills that they train me on.
Right.
There's a possibility that it will be Monday mornings and Wednesday evenings.
Okay.
And of course, I'm going to be on call during the days that I'm off. So I might be late for some sessions, depending on when they need me. I will let you know in advance if that is the case.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you for the consideration. But yeah, congratulations. Real world takes precedent, and I wish you the best of luck. That's really good news.
Anything to get out of retail pharmacy is excellent.
Oh, absolutely. And the icing on the cake is that they are paying me more per hour.
Oh, even better.
And it's almost as much, literally $1 an hour less than if I had taken the manager position at Lumberton. And that's wonderful to hear. But it also makes me realize just how terrible CVS's pay really is. Because it's supposed to be the other way around, that hospital pays less than retail. Yeah, apparently that's not the case if you work at CVS.
Oh yeah, for techs, that's always been the case. Hospitals have always paid more for techs than they have for retail.
I mean, at the hospital, it's $200 for an aspirin, not $12.50 for $500.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I believe that we have an understanding as to where we left our coterie.
In hot water?
Yes, marinating in their juices.
I think we were somewhere near the falls of Shit Creek.
I think we left our paddles at home, unfortunately.
Not a problem whatsoever. So when diving into this mess and morass of where we last left our beloved coterie members on the streets of Milwaukee, I cannot even remotely begin to express how much I honestly enjoy play. I really do. It is one of those foundational things that is weird. It came up today, and it came up in such a odd suggestion from an odd source. Everyone at my current employment, all of the owner and the regional manager, and are aware that Wednesday and Friday take precedence when forming my schedules outside of any familial responsibilities, and so they often will, as an aside, try to make small talk. So how's your, and according to them, a direct quote, how's your podcast going? Even though I've explained what it is that we do here, but they refer to it as a podcast. So how's your podcast going? But today it was used as a way to mitigate a very serious conversation. Our corporate brand liaison paid a visit to the problem store that I'm now at, and after their departure, with a little malicious compliance on my part, because I was told especially to make sure that they see everything that they would like to see, and that they see that we are at standards and that everything's being upheld, and so forth and so on. So after their tour, it got to the point where a conversation was had in regards to not just my responsibilities, but my actual title. And as a way to distract from the seriousness of the conversation, the owner was like, yes, we'll deal with that, and just a little more patience. We need a few things in order. But by the way, how's your podcast going? So yes, thank you all for a lovely experience in exploring all of these dark moments, all of these traumatic incidents, and this fantastical world in which these characters live and have space rent-free in my mind. Thank you, and thank you.
See, he's planned it all along, 2 years of these games, and it's all to have an easy out for an awkward conversation.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So, with us knowing where our characters are, with us knowing where these heroes of our hearts and minds, these fevered best demons of our imaginations are, traipsing through the night in Milwaukee with the very wind itself seeming against them, I'd like to officially say that this is Soup City Sins, Season 16, Epilogue. Hollow, violent memories of the lost. Over the last few seasons, the Coterie has experienced an unmitigatedly exponentially large amount of loss. They have had a sundering between themselves and one of their greatest, most direct enemies. They have lost connection with members of their own personal existences that matters to them, that helps keep them, while not human, less bestial than they would be. They have weighed the cost of that connection a multiplicity of ways. And with all of that loss, with all of that turmoil, with all of the pressures mounting incrementally, stone by bloody stone, we find ourselves in their good graces, battling against the very elements, moving westbound towards a small-ish Italian restaurant a stone's throw from the Rossi's center of power in Milwaukee. Because unbeknownst to the Coterie, there was a civil war taking place here in Milwaukee as they were launching battle after battle against the Castiglione and Tories in Chicago. While they were inundated with enemies, emotional, physical, and mental, on nearly every front, a battle for the dark, unbeating heart of Milwaukee was being waged between Mother Rossi and the Castiglione and Tory representative. Her sacrifice play, her gambit to sacrifice the shelter in a bid for power for both Chicago and Milwaukee, having been cut short by Sophia, leaves them cut adrift, and with the wind howling and the night seeming to take forever to cover the distance of a few moments. Where does that leave our Coterie?
Lost and afraid.
That was a good show.
We were walking somewhere to be picked up. I remember that.
Yes. You were heading to Lucchese. It's a small Italian eatery. Now, North Avenue in Milwaukee isn't exactly what most people would immediately consider as Calacenzo, isn't what most people would consider a hellhole. Most people wouldn't consider it an underserved area. They wouldn't consider it a ghetto of any sort. It is not the most urbane. It is not the most gentrified. It is, despite the median income, one of the poorer areas of the city. It is a medium crime area of the city. It is an area where, while you may not get shot, if you leave your car unlocked, there's no telling what you may come back to. And as such, it's not too unlike Rogers Park. It's not too unlike the normal surroundings for the shelter. It is miles and miles away. It is a separate, different world, with the beasts having similar operating procedures, even though they have a different seeming. So as you all cross by this point, just past North 59th Street, there on your right, just ahead of you, is the glowing neon light of Mekong Cafe, a nice little Chinese restaurant that is open late and dares to be violated by anyone. It is clear that this is the sort of place where the locals would come to for safety. because you don't mess around with a Chinese restaurant, because they will close down and you won't have your dim sum. They will close down, or worse yet, kick your ass and put you to work washing dishes. This is the sort of place where rough and tumble, competent and confident predators would not mind spending time. However, being as you are fish out of water, it's another sign that you are not where you belong, because as you pass, instead of the older Asian lady doing a stiff-lipped nod, she appraises you from your shoes to your head, and instead of stepping back to open the door or disappear inside, she grips her broom handle a little tighter in preparation of using a beggar's grip to sweep or otherwise cudgel the prey and predators that you are. It is another sign that while things change, things will always remain the same. There are those willing to be the monster and those willing to kill the monsters that you are, that exist in the world around you. Crossing North 59th, there it leaves you with just a little bit over a block to make the small trek. And as you make your way across North 60th, passing by Mekong Cafe, you realize that there is a difference in pressure. There's a difference in the way the wind itself batters you. There is a feeling that the pressure on your shoulders has lifted some. You can see daylight. You can see light at the end of the tunnel, because Calocinzo, while not a bright neon palace, is well enough lit and has a wide enough parking lot that even from a block away, you can see it. You see you're out.
Does that pressure feel familiar?
As familiar as a comfortable glove owned by someone else. It very much feels as if you are leaving home. It very much feels as if when preparing for their night, rousing in your own particular suites at Sophia's Haven and at the shelter, and stepping out into the world, you've gotten so accustomed to swimming up through that depth that it's a feeling that lets you know you are now in danger when you're at home. That pressure no longer being there, no longer being at someone else's behest, you notice that difference. You feel that weight that you have grown accustomed to dissipating.
So, Hess kind of not wanting to stop everybody because they need to get to where they're going, but she kind of, for a minute, and head tilts and tries to kind of pick apart that feeling and figure out what's different. She has some suspicions, and it's funny because it might almost sound a little a little racist, but her last interactions with people that own a Chinese restaurant were not all that great.
The 3 happiness is months long in your rearview mirror. It has been a very long time since you've partaken of company with the Wan Kwa. That weight that you're feeling is more akin to what visitors to the actual shelter have bombarded them. That pressure that's no longer there is the absence of all of that manifestation.
She steps a little closer to the group and whispers, I think there's a void of spirits around here somewhere because when we stepped closer to that restaurant, it felt weird, like everything was sucked out of the room, that it got lighter. Do you guys feel that?
Storyteller, would we feel that?
Yes, you very much did. You're swimming up out of the depths. You're swimming up out of the pressure that you've all grown accustomed to.
Considering that at least one Hecata is mad at us right now, I believe a void of spirits is probably preferable.
I get what you're saying, and I would normally agree with that thing. But do you know what happens right before tsunami, that's the word. All the water leaves, and then it comes rushing back and crushes you.
Unless there are strong walls to keep it out.
While they're having this little spat, Lucio's gonna throw up Oblivion Sight to see if he can inspect what exactly is going on.
Oh, yes. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your Wits plus Oblivion for me, please?
Okay. And preferably also just, like, covering his face from any, like, onseers that might see his eyes turn black.
But isn't that like the best part?
Oh, it is. When no one else sees it. I forgot that thirst doesn't exist anymore. 1 second. How does Realm of Darkness work again?
That is the / dice, and then start typing out roll. It'll bring up your options as you do so. It will start typically with your pool, your total die pool, and then you tab over and it'll bring up your hunger, difficulty, whatever else you want to roll, put it in that particular position. And yes, it's a little more variable. You can move which one counts where. It will still read it correctly once you're done, but you could literally put in your specialty first, your notes, your rouse, anything else you want to put there, and then tab over and put in all of the information you wanted to consider when you make that roll.
Okay. When I do /roll, it's...
No, dice roll. Start with dice. It's easier because /roll is our dice baiting. /dice roll specifically is for Realm of Darkness.
Okay, because the command's not coming up. Oh wait, hold on. For some reason, I'm getting a message saying I don't have permission to use any commands from Realm of Darkness.
That is odd. Quick second here. Take a quick.
Alright, for right now, I will rely on Old Faithful until I figure out why exactly Realm of Darkness doesn't like me. And that's 5.
It has never not been a consideration or a very well-known aphorism that the eyes are the windows to the soul. That you can see someone's intention. In fact, a lot of the aphorisms and a lot of the affectations for the eyes pertain to the truth of a person. their actual inner self shining out, what they see, what they feel, what they intuit. All of those many poetic references to such an understanding fade away, because we all have met and know who and what the measure of Lucio is, or at least our perception of what that measure might be. One of the many things that is not easily reconcilable is that there is a pit of never-ending nothingness, not darkness, not blackness of heart. The mirrors to his soul open into nothingness. That wispy bit of black inkiness that occasionally leaks out when he peers into the nothingness of forever is not a true reference of what he is. It's how we understand the concept of nothingness. And while oblivion is darkness never ending, it's just a set dressing for the absence of everything, the end of all things, including the idea of things. All of that and that eerie, unsettling feeling that creeps across the skin is what oblivion is. It is what peers out of Lucio's eyes. It is what takes hold of all that general light and well-being that he has and his wishes for betterment for others. And while that is slightly traumatic watching it happen, watching the light disappear from his being, it's worse for him because he is able to truly visually encapsulate what you've all just done. In the last few steps, crossing across that invisible boundary from what is the Hakata's domain in Milwaukee into the rest of the city at large, you have literally trekked out of hell. You know what Orpheus had to face. You lulled Cerberus to sleep. You've managed to escape the wall of death, the wall of the everlasting afterlife. And it is no exaggeration that it is a wall, strong and resolute, able to withstand the very maelstrom and whirlpool of all unliving things. It is a fortress made of souls. Each brick in that wall that you've managed to surpass is a former living entity, a former existing being, and it is high and strong and thick enough to withstand, as far as you can tell, everything. And each of those bricks in its own way is calling out for you, Lucio, reaching out to you for help and assistance. You can feel the murmurs of their unshed voices. You can feel the touch of their unending anguish. And you can see that small, brief, flickering, fading light of their existence as each brick silently wails for you. Silently wails for anything and anyone that can save them from their fate.
Theo looks at this in silent horror and just mutters to himself, "What the fuck have they done?"
Profanity is a given. It's part of our modern society. It's part of who we are. It's also a sign of intellect. It is also very much not part of polite company. And as such, hearing that small muttering that small bit of profanity escaping Lucio, and the pain behind each syllable puts you all in a strange situation. You are steps away from Calocenzo. You are inches from safety. You have escaped the maw of the beast. You are still on your feet and you're still ambulatory. But that escape, that exhalation, carries with it weight. Lucio curses. We all do. Lucio doesn't generally use profanity in a casual manner. Whatever it is that he is seeing as he peers into the nothingness of forever has left its mark.
That didn't sound like a good sound.
I guess it might be really bad what he's seeing right now. That's what I'm guessing.
Miriam shrugs.
It is always bad what he is seeing, but it does not stop him from ever looking.
They've made a wall of souls.
Oh.
And that is all? You are upset by this?
What do you mean that's all?
In the Shadowlands, there are no trees or rocks or anything to build things with, except for the memories and the souls that have passed on. That they've only built a wall is comforting.
Look, I get it. It's horrible, probably what you're looking at. It really is, and it sounds terrifying. But might I remind you, this is not our motherfucking city, so it's not our circus, and it's not our monkeys. We need to get the fuck out of here. That's what we really need to do.
Fine. Just get me as far away from this thing as possible.
Am I the only one that can barely hear anything Lucio says?
Yeah, he is a little low.
No.
Am I too quiet?
There you go. That's good. Right there.
Hold on. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying was that Lucio said, fine, just get me as far away from this thing as possible.
And salvation is but a few steps away. Calocenzo, again, is not a very large Italian eatery. Calocenzo, unlike several of the landmarks that you've passed along the way, doesn't stand out, except for it is an island of calm. While it's not bright and garish and filled with light like some of the other places you see across North Avenue or some of the places that you've passed, it does have a wide expanse of parking lot, room enough for most. Though at this hour of the evening, its vehicles are typically those of the employees, save the honest-to-goodness replica 18 van. It is a black Ram with a red racing stripe going up to a bright red spoiler. Leaning against it There's the one. There's the only Mr. Knightham. He looks like every bad stereotype of what a gangrel would look like if they were socialized properly. There's the rough scruff of the uncaring need to shave or want to. There are the clearly leftover stains of working on nothing but oil-covered pieces of machinery. There is the general wafting of less than, or at least in Milwaukee, less than legal devil's lettuce. And there is the uncaring sizing up of everyone moving to and fro, from the dishwasher and sous chef who are carrying out the trash, to the drunken couple who are fumbling for their keys near the Cadillac at the north end of the lot, to you all who are crossing the parking lot heading towards the restaurant itself. He is literally watching everyone as if he's deciding whether they are to be eaten or whether they're not worth the effort. It's about 5'8", 5'9", just at slightly tall for his demographic. His skin, even in death, has a certain swarthy tan to it. And again, his hair is the definition of unkept. There's no styling, no coiffure being done. He is only missing the well-worn leather. He has the jeans, he has the boots, and he has every other visible mannerism of the trope of being one of the Outlanders. He looks as if he could easily do the Oregon Trail in his sleep, forwards and backwards, and never have to resort to losing any of his party members, unless of course he decided to eat them for sport.
Cass kind of quirks a brow and bites her lip because the smart ass wants to escape. She's like to the mouth and looking away, trying not to giggle.
Good evening.
Yeah, it can be, especially if you are who I'm looking for. Well, who's looking for me? It's a good night. The Anubi are rousting some idiots who decided to take territory for themselves.
That seems most unwise. You were sent to pick up some people, perhaps?
Yeah, where's Silvio?
He is no longer with us. He did not make this trip.
Shame. Still owes me $100, but okay. Favors are
I'll be happy to make sure you get a recompense.
So, where are we going? Where do you want to get to? Tell me that you're at least, want to go somewhere close. Madison, I can have you there and soon enough. Wauwatosa, I can have you there sooner. And God forbid if you just want to go over to Milwaukee, that's even easier than strangely enough Wauwatosa. We cross Milwaukee Avenue, we got to deal with the wolves.
I do not know where Milwaukee Avenue is, but perhaps back to the hospital. Is that problematic? Unless, of course, you want to drive us back to Chicago, but that is probably unreasonable.
Chicago? You got Chicago money.
I have European money. I assume it spends the same.
Yeah. I don't know how to tell you this, but the euro means shit. And I don't deal with the whole boon thing. It's too much hassle. Your people got to get in contact with my people got to get in contact with their people, and they actually got to give a shit to get in contact with your people. It's a whole muss and a mess that I don't want to get involved with. Chicago, there's 4 of you, 250 large, and I can assure you safely get there. I'm taking it, time is of the essence, so I take it you want to be there tonight.
That would be best. How would you prefer payment?
Suitcase of money brought by a hot and heavy bearded fellow who has no problem with pain. 2 hours alone with him and all the money that I can imagine. But in light of that, cash will do. You got a bank account, or you carry that sort of cash with you?
I assure you these bags are not stuffed with money.
Shame. It'd make things a lot easier. So he reaches back into the van and pulls out what looks on a good day like a cell phone taken to the nth degree, stacked 3 high and 4 wide, that folds out onto itself. But you realize that it in fact is exactly what it looks like, a small satellite relay that is plugged into the transformer in the van. He takes it out and folds all of the eaves opening, turning it so that he gets just the right angle he's looking for. And as he's doing this, he has no care in the world as to anything that's happening around him in that moment. There's something laughable about someone who feels the need or has the need to carry a portable satellite relay with them. Give me a second. It takes a little bit to boot up. I'm taking it your bank keeps European hours, so it's a little late, but you can forward the funds, right?
Should not be a problem, though they may question the amount this time of night.
I don't give a shit as long as the check clears.
It will clear. I'm just saying it may not clear before we arrive in Chicago.
Oh, for your sake, it better had. I don't play when it comes to money or a good time.
I don't play when it comes to my reputation. If I tell you you will get something, you will get it.
And who exactly are you?
A member in good standing of the Agata. Maybe not locally, but globally.
It's dark. He is clearly practiced when seeming nonplussed. He has clearly been around the block often enough that he knows by memory where each pothole is. He knows by memory where to step at what time to not get splashed by passing cars. He knows what each of those nooks and crannies of that block is like. He falters for a split second when you say Hakata. You can tell that it is no small amount of effort to keep from crossing himself at the mention of the Hakata. You not being local takes away from that fear somewhat, but all the shadows look the same in the dark. All the monsters have the same amount of teeth that go on forever, and the Hakata are untouchable, meaning they literally and quite often, as of late, had pulled laughter. Ha 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 ha. You can't do anything, officer. I have diplomatic immunity. And managed to get away with it. They have managed to do things that others have been erased from existence for. Their war between each other has had such a high death toll that even this wild, untamed thing falters. It's a momentary thing, and he's back to his gruff self and continuing with the dial-up. But seeing someone physically stutter, stuck in a moment, is an interesting view on the world. It doesn't happen too often, and it's not something that's usually easily noticeable. The fact that it is stands out all the more because of it.
I assume that is not a problem.
Normally, no. Yeah, it is a fucking problem. You put me between a rock and a hard place. I tell you no, you haunt me for a few months, if I'm lucky. I tell you yeah, and whoever you pissed off that's making you run may do the same or worse. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem. You know Silvio? He's a stand-up guy. That doesn't make sense.
Silvio has worked for me for 2 decades.
Oh God. Oh,
For me directly, not just for the family.
oh shit. Tell him don't worry about the $100. Tell him don't. Yeah. Just fucking hell. Just.
How about this? How about a compromise? If you can get us to your print, or someone who can sanction us being in town till tomorrow, when I have already arranged for transportation out of town, and we can explain the oversight of the people who invited us here not filing the proper paperwork as was expected, then you do not have to drive us to Chicago.
Okay. Fuck.
This way you do not get haunted and you do not get in trouble for helping us out.
Okay. We're gonna do this. I can't introduce you to the prince, but I know somebody who can. I know where she is right now. I was technically on my way to see her. The reason why I'm here as fast as I am. Let's go see Tessa. She's not one of the judges, but she's got pull. While you don't fuck with the Hakata, you don't cross the warlocks, and she will definitely vouch for you with Prince Decker. She will get you all situated and get you a pass really, really easy. She's good people.
Well, then I'm amenable to the starts. And I see that you are compensated for your time and effort. Though probably not 250 large, you understand.
Yeah, he can't spend what you... Anyway, come on. He starts pulling down the satellite array. Just as he was connecting, you can tell that there was a procedure there that he should have done that he did not. But he just folds all of the eaves back together, collapses it back into itself, and sits it back into the seat, opening up the back door with a big sliding clang as it rolls to a stop. All right, everybody in. Come on.
I'm in, I guess.
You heard the man?
Hess looks at the others. She's been like smirking this whole time, but then she looks at Lucio and lifts her arms both at the same time.
Excuse me? Sorry, did anyone hear me?
Yep, you said excuse me.
Okay.
I didn't hear the response to what I said, but okay.
He drolly stares at Hestia and asks, excuse me?
Please.
I believe the correct terminology is uppies. And you're supposed to hold your arms out and snap your fingers together like some sort of crab.
She does that.
To say
All
that
right.
Lucio currently is dressed like a very impoverished version of Moon Knight would be an understatement. He's well appointed and is wearing his usual vest with a jacket that almost matches his usual. There is a certain almost timeless utilitarianness ideal and outlook for his ensemble. The idea of him lifting Hestia, her short and voluptuous form, it's on the surface a little bit more than comical. However, there is, in that moment, in that very superficial connection, one to the next, an element of trust. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the night, every kindred, every vampire is in fact a monster. And proximity allows the predator, allows the monster close enough to do what they will. Putting yourself into the hands of a monster is, well, laughably dangerous. It is the sort of thing that one would not do. It's the sort of thing that people throughout the ages have made a small, tidy bit of a fortune off of doing. But eventually, the monster will have its pound of flesh. The predator will do what comes natural to predators. It will eventually close those jaws that you so lovingly place your head into. Eventually, with all certainty, it is the only sure bet. It's not a matter of if. It is simply a matter of when. And as the two predators are close enough to touch, and as they do, in fact, touch, Lucio lifting Hestia into the back of the van, it is impossible to not understand in that moment. Lucio risks his immortality, placing himself close enough to be fed upon by Hestia. And Hestia does exactly the same. Close enough to be fed upon, close enough to be touched. It is no small thing, giving oneself over to that moment. It is a huge thing to keep the beast at bay, to keep those thoughts from tumbling and rumbling and riling through one's mind. It's that very, very pressing negative self-talk. You know, it would be so easy from this distance. And as you all get into the van, Anton doesn't even bother to close the back door. He literally starts up the van with the rumbling roar of that late 80s diesel. Everybody in? Everybody good?
I believe so.
And he takes off into the night. Normally, impressingly, traveling through Milwaukee is a thing of labored pain for every unliving creature able to and willing to keep their eyes open. There are sentries and cameras and posts and the theater of security that is in fact oppression everywhere that one turns. It is a very limited commodity for those few, those brave, daring few who are able to circumvent the nets and levels of security placed throughout the city. There are a few dead zones that are far more dangerous than they're worth, and he manages to avoid most of them, because instead of pulling out onto North Avenue and traipsing back through the dead zone that is the Hakata domain, he takes a right out of the lot onto North, heading further west and then cutting north over 68th. And you can tell that his rate of travel is just higher than the average driver. It's just a little faster. And that's saying something, considering driving in Chicago is a contact sport. It's not rubbing, it's racing. It's the common thing that even the northerners in Chicago understand. And fender benders are nothing more than the average Tuesday. Hell, they do worse to their own vehicles. So, knocking your bumper off means absolutely, positively nothing. It's gotten to the point in Chicago where road rage is very, very real. Certain individuals will even shoot through their own windshield to make sure that their anger and annoyance is felt by most, if not all. The same can't be exactly said for Milwaukee, though it is close. The drivers in Milwaukee have a tendency to believe that while the road is not theirs, no one can tell them otherwise. No one can prove that it's not. It is right of way is something that is fought over and feuds are waged over. I am going this way, either go with me or get the fuck out of my way. But you're going the wrong way. The sign says one way, and there is one way. I'm going that way. It is a commonality of thought. It is, I'm going, either roll with me or get rolled over, if you're lucky. And his slightly accelerated speed draws that to a very, very fine point. Twice in the span of time it takes you to get from North Avenue there in Washington Highlands to Roosevelt Grove before you begin to make that right turn and head south back through the interweaving, overwrought network of slight expressways into residential streets, back into expressways. You nearly crash twice. You nearly get into a collision 3 times. The fourth you don't count because it was clear that no one was at fault. It was just the light was turning and everybody had their idea as to whose light it was. You travel over a street that the direction of traffic changes at seemingly at a whim. You survive that hairy exchange just long enough to regret ever driving at all. Ever setting foot inside of a vehicle. It makes you regret passing your driver's license. It makes you doubt the existence of God. And all without any actual collision, all without any actual violence, all without someone just flipping off one another. It is just another average night. The hairy 36 1.5-minute drive is enough to make you all rethink ever considering to leave Chicago again. It is pressing enough that there is a before and after moment in your mind. And as you all come to a rolling pause of a stop as he makes a wide sweeping left down North Van Buren onto Lyon and makes another wide looping left into the surprisingly filled parking lot behind the Why Not 2 Tavern, you all find yourself thankful that you're no longer moving. Appreciative that you no longer have to, with him, you no longer have to experience the roadways of Milwaukee. All right, we're here. Come on.
Sophia will grab her shit and follow.
Same.
As Lucio gets out of the car, he's just making sure that they're all in one piece still after that ride. And then gather his things and go.
Thank God my stomach does not work, because otherwise it would be empty right now.
Sorry for driving so slow, but I just want to make sure you guys got here okay.
We appreciate that.
The Why Not is very much a dive bar. So there's a dive bar with an agenda. This agenda is the celebration of everything alternative about life, which is in and of itself is a funny joke for 5 undead monsters of the night. The Why Not 2 is a celebration of alternative thought, action, and enjoyment of the idea of life. There's colors and activity and action and conversations, and as you all walk in past the bouncer, who looks as if she could be a stunt double for the Hulk, there's a nodding acceptance based on your dress, based on the clear value spent on Sophia's attire, based on how richly appointed even the cast-off clothing you all took from her neighbors actually are. And you all are such a ragtag bunch of different that she doesn't even care about the clear fact that most of you all do not seem anywhere near alive. Where the fact that most of you under this garish oscillating light seem like zombies. Let's just call it what it is. You are clearly in no sense of the word alive. Your death is evident on your skin. You all didn't blush. You all didn't hide the monsters that you are. And instead of the normal recoil or the mental aversion that most have, Bouncer just nods, welcomes you all in as if it's just another Tuesday.
So this is normal that all of us operate out of bars here?
Yeah, it's easier. If too many of us are in the same place at the same time, the prince will kill you. If you're lucky. If you're not lucky, you'll get the Viking. And if you're even worse, you'll get that fucking psychopath Tommy. But lucky for you, you picked the right night. Everybody who's anybody is busy with whatever the fuck is going on down at Capitol Hill. Luckily for you, most people know not to fuck with Tessa on her night off. Except for me. And I'm clearly dumber than I even do. This, and he points between you all and himself, is the definition of illegal. And while officially you all aren't to be fucked with, who's gonna rat your assassin out? The executioner is still out there. They still do whatever the prince wants them to do. And no one knows who they are. You just cease to be. So while you're untouchable by the Anubi officially, unofficially, the executioner could do whatever the hell they want, and no one will be able to find out what that is until you're no longer in existence. So yeah.
Existence is a malleable thing, but I get your point.
But yeah, so everybody uses bars because it's easy to explain. Oh, I didn't know they were here, and I left as soon as I found out. Private get-togethers are also a big thing. Little out of the way places with multiple ways in, so that no one can actually say you knew there was going to be more than 3 people in a place. And by people, I mean our kind. So bars are a thing. Bars, laundromats, coffee houses. Why do you think most of the coffee houses are open as late as they are? It's one of the first things you set up, a place to operate from, that you can explain, oh, it was an accident, and you move on before you get caught and get killed.
So what you are saying is that Milwaukee is a town full of unruly children who are exploiting well-known loopholes?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Look, being dead is lonely business, even for people like me who I don't like none of you, none of us. I don't like myself. And even me, even all that I am and those like me get lonely. That connection, having somebody that can understand you even if you hate their guts, is invaluable. It's a treasure. It's one of the reasons why being as we are is even palatable after a while. Even if you just watch, just sit silently and let them do whatever it is that they are doing, as long as it doesn't affect your space, your moment. But here, that connection, that fellowship, it's policed. It's codified into what's acceptable and what's not. And so every way to rebel, every way to be as human as you can be to get that fellowship is what everyone does. It's the reason why people like me have so many exploits for avoiding scrutiny. It's why people like Honor would rather die than continue existing here. I miss her. But anyway, Tessa's in the back. I gotta talk to the bartender. Line up a few things for later, but I'll be back there in a minute. You can't miss her. When you head in the back, you'll know who she is. Big, burnt orange afro, glasses that hide eyes that look right into your very soul. and, well, killer fucking dance moves.
You sound a bit smitten. Should I put in a word for you?
No. The only thing worse than getting in bed with a snake is getting in bed with a warlock.
To each their own.
Lucio looks over to Hestia when he says that.
I know. She's just kind of like, hey.
Hey, I'm sorry about your love life if you got in bed with one of the Tremere, but they can't help it. Even the good ones will eventually betray you, pursuing some secret. They get these things in their head, these missions, these puzzles that they gotta solve, even if it means breaking every portion of your still remaining heart. They don't mean to be evil, typically, sometimes, but they really, at their hearts, are. Their intellectual pursuits will betray you. And they go where the clues lead, even if it means leaving you. That's what I mean by only thing worse than a snake is a warlock, because at least a snake will have a reason for doing it, a real earnest passion for why they did it. Man, the Tremere, the warlocks, nah, they were just curious. It's part of an experiment. That's just to solve this puzzle. Well, yeah. Look what happened to Honor. Trusting Tessa is what got her permanently dead. And yeah, I don't care if you tell her, she already knows how I feel in regards to her getting Honor killed. So yeah, I'll see you in the back in a minute.
Well, shall we?
From the outside, there's no way this building should be as long as it is. It takes about 4 minutes walking to get from where you are just past the bouncer to the back space. And it's only as you get to the back space that you realize just how far you've walked and how many bodies you've brushed against and moved past, how many wild gesticulating and gyrating dancers have sauntered and sashayed past you, how many strange appraising looks and considerations have you managed to survive, how many quiet, slightly mouth covered pointing and nodding of the head have you seen as you make it into the back. And standing in the doorway, you realize that the back is recessed. There's a few steps leading down, not a full story below you, but close enough that it is a travel and a trek down the stairs. In that space are easily 50, maybe 100 dancers, all of them in various gears of speed, all of them in the moment, in their own world, their own individual worlds, encapsulating all of the other worlds around them, but solely and most importantly, only about them. Each of those dancers, each of those individuals on that floor, moving to the strobing lights and the pounding bass echoing off the walls, is a star in their own right. The world, the camera, the movie, everything is circulating around them. In this moment for them, that's all that matters. That sweaty, hot, high active dancing, that just bacchanal-like exuberance. You've all been in enough clubs that your skepticism immediately falls into play. You all remember what it was like traipsing through the succubus. You all know what it's like to dance on a rooftop at a rooftop bar in Prague. You know all of what the nightlife actually is, and you've seen it being magnified by members of the Clan of the Rose. You've seen it magnified by illicit drug use, and you've seen nearly every permutation of either of those two extremes. And yet this, in this moment, isn't any of those things. It's not fueled by illicit drug activity. It's not fueled by someone ramping up others' emotions. No, the smell in the air, the pheromones drifting here and there, it very much is a crowd of people sharing a hedonistic release of all of life's frustrations. It is a pouring out, an escape from the banal. You're sure as you stare down there and all those gyrating bodies and bouncing forms, and there's a multiplicity of college students, a multiplicity of doctors, or multiplicity of, hell, is someone's grandma down there. You can tell from this distance that silver is not something that you get out of a can. It is a rain dance for a bit of happiness to escape the mundane. It is a shared celebration and funeral for the lives that they wish they had and the lives they hope to escape. And midway through the crowd, even from this distance with the strobing lights, blue and red and violet, and there's a yellow and a green surfing over the crowd, being reflected by the honest to goodness disco ball, is that burnt orange afro. It is picked out to its full height. There's a 1.5 foot radius around that skull of just hair, and it's moving to the beat, and there's a circle of praise seekers and hierophants who gravitate towards the center of all of that movement. They fade in and share a few seconds of dance, and there's honest smiling and laughing and sweating going on, and then they'll fade out, and another will ease into the orbit around her. And as dead as you all have been, as dead as you are, seeing another kindred earnestly and honestly feel something, pour out honest emotion generated from themselves, you know it's not impossible, but it is highly improbable. But there it is before you.
Before they get too close, Tess is gonna lean over near Lucio. Did you notice the name he said? I know you said something about you were looking for them before. Is that the same person?
Storyteller, can you repeat the name?
Tessa Green.
You're talking about Honor.
Oh, Honor Mercer? Yes, very much so.
Yes, that was one of them that I was looking for.
Okay, but what I'm understanding is if they're missing or gone or whatever, but then I heard that the prince's girl was missing, and that I think it's the same girl. So it wasn't the pirate who made her that way, it was this guy?
It would seem so. And just out of character, just for my understanding, had it already been established that Anna Mercer was the Milwaukee Princess Childer? I feel like I remember hearing that before.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I mean, not that it makes the Pirate King any more innocent, but it's kind of weird, you know.
Another mystery to tack on to the pile.
Yeah. All right, I guess. I'll go say hi to Tess. I'm not looking forward to this, but Tess kind of fluffs their own ponytail and tries to put on a smile and make their way towards Tess, having not seen them in a while.
You got this. Lucio gives her a little pat on the back.
An introduction would be wonderful if you need me to explain things, but I think you can handle.
So as nimbly and smoothly as she can, she works her way towards Tess in the middle of the circle, remembering her height and dodging elbows and asses on the way.
There is no better way to say that you are looked after than being able to cross a dance floor and not get bowled over. And this release and this outpouring, with it being all about seizing what little positivity and bright light they have, there are more than a few sexualized dances taking place. There are more than a few touches happening in the middle of this floor. But what is not happening? There is no trampling. There is no mindless collisions. Everyone is having a good time. This outpouring of emotions is sharing this emotion. This outpouring of activity is an orgiastic ritual. It is magic. It doesn't happen often. Not truly. And crossing the dance floor, you're able to feel that. You're able to bathe in it. You're able to wash in it. Normally, crossing a dance floor at Heshia's height is akin to running the gauntlet. Normally, crossing a dance floor, it is almost impossible to go with the flow and slide between dancers and move out of the way of carelessly thrown appendages. The moment Hestia steps out onto the floor, it is as if the world itself moves to accommodate her path. While there's no dolly shots or tilted angles or anything like that, but it is as if you step down into the dance floor and immediately become part of the ecosystem. You meld harmoniously with the flow. And with your destination clear in your mind, it's as if the world shifts and moves around you, allowing it to happen without any of the normal bumps, abrasions, and contusions. And before you realize it, you are gliding into the circle of Tessa's heady aura. You're able to feel the outpouring, not just from those around her, but from her. It's as if you've been plugged into a circuit and you can feel it. It is everything in your power to not bob and move and dance along to the rhythms that are bombarding you. You feel the bass. It's not just sound that's abrading your ears. You can feel it moving through you from your feet all the way to your head. And it's not that loud, overwhelming, just bass that's going back and forth causing you a headache. No, it is something that is infecting you, investing you with the spirit of this moment.
Kind of filing that away because it's curious as to what's causing that. It's a little harder because of her culture to sit still or stay still. She kind of puts herself very gently into a space, reminding herself that, you know, it's not good to just pop up on somebody typically, but it's not like, notice me, senpai. It just goes, good evening. Hey, Tess, so how are you?
The initial smile that flits across her face is painful, watching it disappear. There's a shadow sliding between her and this happy moment as you catch her attention, her direct attention. And initially, you're just another dancer. Initially, you're just another person here in this moment, basking in what this is. And then recognition dawns. This is work. And you see it creeping in from the edges of her eyes. And you watch as a portion of that energy that she had been plugged into is shorted out. And it's like someone who's been caught being happy in a world that they're not supposed to be happy in. There's a bit of shame and a bit of anger, and there's everything except for the outpouring of the emotion that you initially felt from her. It's the antithesis to that.
That hurts a little bit because she likes to be liked, but she doesn't really have time to quite apologize just yet. Miss, I won't keep you long. Just needed to talk to you for a minute if that's possible.
Fine. And it's impossible to not notice the sagging of the shoulders as the music dies in her. And she's no longer taken by the ebb and flow of the energy of the abounding around you. Fine. And she just walks across the floor back towards the stairs. But in the doing, you notice that the world doesn't move with her. There's a few brushes and bumps. There's a few uncomfortable missteps. People try to avoid her. Do you follow along?
Oh yeah, I want to keep up, and then I kind of motion to the others to kind of meet us at that juxtaposition of the stairs.
Following along in her wake, keeping up with her as you try to make eye contact or catch the glimpses of your coterie, you feel that misplacement yourself. Floating across the floor, you were in lockstep and you were in sync. You had a goal in mind. It was as if you were part of this great small thing. And now it is clear that you are outside of whatever that was. You catch a hip check to your upper left arm, and you catch a uncomfortable brush as someone backsteps into a spin and nearly bowls you over. And this much the same way, there's a stuttering and staggering around Tessa as she makes her way across the floor, and luckily she's acting incidentally as a blocker for you, but you catch much the same yourself, those brushes and collisions and contusions that you are accustomed to when crossing a dance floor.
She kind of accepts that as her punishment for ruining this person's night.
As you all make it to the steps, she lowers her head and motions up the steps after you. I suppose whatever it is important. What does that fool to Saba want now?
Well, kind of unofficial, so I would rather wait till we get upstairs, but my friends are with me, and we had a quick trip here, and some paperwork got messed up, but I'll explain when we get to where we're going.
All right.
Have the others noticed we hit the stairs, or she's like, I was definitely trying to get their attention and get them to come.
I mean, Sophia would have, and she's not like all up in your space, but, a few paces behind.
Similar situation with Lucio.
Where'd Miriam go? She's dancing.
So does anyone catch Miriam's gaze and try to drag her on the dance floor? Do they leave her there dancing?
I feel like
there's
we
no-
should stick together, but it's not really hurting anything.
There's no buddy system in Vampire. If she can't keep up, that's on her.
If she's nearby and Lucio's able to quickly spot her, he'll tap on her shoulder hey, we're moving.
He will give what appears to be a little pout and follow along.
You all mount the steps and pull yourself up and out of the pit of happiness and the exuberance in that moment. There is, for the second time tonight, the feel of leaving something behind, as if you've crossed a boundary that you had not realized was there. For the second time this evening, you leave something that has left a mark on you, that the pressures of which were so heavy and heady that you didn't realize it was there until you were no longer awash in it. So as you all settle at the back bar upstairs at the Why Not 2, and Anton is still at the front bar talking to the bartender. There's a heated discussion going on there, but one that he seems to be winning. I should have figured, Tessa says, settling in at the corner of the bar. Roxy, the bartender, who you've heard Tessa call by name, and tell him that, that your drinks are on her tab. Roxy bounces back over with a bottle, about as tall as a newborn, and nearly as chubby, though it's strangely shaped like a Buddha. And she sets the bottle down along with 5 glasses. The glasses themselves are unlike any of the other glassware you see at the bar. It is clear that the other glassware that you've seen is clear, designed to make everyone envious as to what's inside that cup, that rocks glass, or that tumbler, or that martini glass. But these glasses are, well, black, completely. And not the painted on black that you pick up at all the tourist traps. No, this is glass that was blown to be as opaque as possible, to be nearly impenetrably so. Their weight and heft lets you know that these glasses, these drinking vessels, were created individually as part of a set. There was time and effort poured into them. While there's nothing immediately ostentatious about them, there's no skull work or craft work into them, and there's no design on them. But they are each individually heavy enough to be used as a significant weight when throwing a punch or clubbing someone over the top of the head. Yet the stem work is thin enough to comfortably sit in your hand without being uncomfortable at all, as if each of the glasses were blown with your hand in mind.
Again, I want to apologize for interrupting your evening. As such, thing is, we were hoping that you would perhaps introduce us to the prince, or at least maybe give us a bit of a place to stay for the evening so that we can leave tomorrow as originally scheduled. The thing is, we were scheduled to come visit, and we did, but we didn't realize that somebody messed up our paperwork when we got here, because there's some sort of weird rules going on here. And here we are, so
weird.
There's that.
Girl, ain't nothing weird about Milwaukee. We are living in an open example of what's going on everywhere else in the world. Decker is not special. Milwaukee is not special. People are just upset that we have a gangrel prince, and people are just upset because they don't know how to deal and associate with rules. You, as one of us, should already know how to deal and associate under the rule of law.
I don't remember how much you remember about me. I know we haven't always gotten along, but you should remember that rules aren't my favorite thing.
Well, they're nobody's favorite thing, but are you going to be an adult about it, or are you going to be a child?
Fair enough. She looks at Sophia. I suppose I should introduce the others, seeing as how I don't remember how many of them you knew or knew of. First, this is Sophia Rossi, and Miriam Ashton, and Lucio Darcy.
The experiments I have heard about, Dusaba was real interested in him. Ashton, you say? Isn't it, aren't you the painted lady's right-hand girl? How is Dalton these days? I hear that they're going to be setting up shop out there. And Rossi, are you related to Pater Fiorello?
I have that misfortune, yes.
Misfortune? I thought you family members all hung together. Okay. Well,
So did I, until paperwork was misfiled and I find us in jeopardy.
I'm not paranoid. I really could give two shits about the judges and their newbie on my off nights. However, you all picked the right night to come gate crashing, didn't you? So what do you all know about this upstart baron?
The what now?
That's what I would say if I was visiting Chicago and knew something was going to happen. So I will act like we are talking as equals, and you are being as honest with me as I'm being with you. Have you all came to Chicago at somebody else's request? You say that you are on the outs with your relation who controls a significant portion of the city. And you are part of that whole gardener thing the painted lady was doing. Wasn't she connected with, what is that girl's name? Wasn't she connected with her Zuli and Mama Walday? And that whole thing?
That's the presumed state of things. I wasn't so much on that side. I just enjoyed the art. She will pose with her tattoos.
I'm sure that a lot of German citizens didn't really approve of the Nazis either, but they did love those Hugo Boss outfits. It did make them look so good, didn't they? I'm sorry. I'm testing. This is my off night. I did not even decide to show up for the routing that is going to happen with that idiot trying to raise an army of Caitiff and Thin Bloods to take a portion of the city from Prince Decker. Which is a show, I'm sure. The Viking was all up in arms that the plotting and planning that they were doing. Oh my God. But this was my off night. This was my me time. This was a release and not dealing with work. And you all are work. Your legend speaks for itself. The first La Sombre in Chicago history. The first coterie that was punished with status. How can you all kill a member of Primogen and get rewarded? Not once, but twice. You became a regent level member of our people, not because you told the line and followed the rules, but because you killed a member of Primogen and you refused the outright personal invite. So, forgive me. I am sorry. You all are in need of want of an introduction. I could make that happen. But what is it that you all are offering for taking up my one night that I've taken for myself? Knowing what I have shared with you as to how you are perceived by me and by most other upstanding members of our society. How do you think we should move forward?
Hess very quietly and carefully looks at Sophia because she's not good with the whole political thing. Kind of stumbles through most of this, so she's just kind of looking at Sophia like.
What is it commensurate to the task that we are asking of you that you would ask of us?
Now, you know that's not entirely fair at all, now is there? I name a price, you say it's too high, and try to get me to come down without ever actually giving it any real consideration.
In this case, you are the one selling the service. You set the fee. And then we will negotiate. As always.
I see. Well, let's start with the basics. All of you all are involved with a bit of power down there in the city. And I cannot lie, there are some moments where I wish I was elsewhere. But I need a reason to be elsewhere. I need a reason to risk the highways. I need a reason to brave what you all clearly take for granted. It is only 2.5 hours away, but in that 2.5 hours, I have heard more screaming souls be shunted into oblivion, well, than all of Dante's Inferno. The roads from here to there are filled with landmines and road pirates and dangers that would make immortality seem like the shortest amount of time. There is one thing that I have heard about. There's one thing I would like to witness for myself. I would like access to whatever power center you all hold that has caused ripples all the way right up into Canada. Whatever it was that you all have been doing over the last few weeks has echoed through the spiritual landscape, changing things. I hear that there is a new Lord of Hosts amongst the dead. The spirits that I do manage to talk to have managed to go on and on about the new challenging, it's something about Legionnaire or something, I'm not entirely sure. Their levels of bureaucracy can be confusing.
Well, I fear that giving you access to the item that we have used is no longer within our purview, as the original owner has reclaimed it. I can certainly put you in touch. As for the rumors of the spirit, I may be able to answer some questions in that capacity, even without doing any magic.
I see. And Regent Green, do I have your word that you will honor not only the letter of our agreement, but the spirit as well? One magister to another.
She pauses and like really looks at Tessa for a minute, just like trying to figure, of course, puzzles, trying to figure out what it is that she is getting at, and remembering that she is a very close friend, or was a close friend of Sylvia's at one point. I think I need to know exactly what it is you're asking from me.
I'm asking you to co-sign this young lady's words to enforce on your honor and the honor of your blood, not only the letter of our agreement, but the spirit of it. Because perfectly honest, I am at a loss. This one here, and she points to Sophia, has phrased that in such a tantalizing manner that I'm a little curious, and I would like to solve what it is that she's speaking of, because it helps in what I have already been pursuing. However, anything that is too good to be true is being honest, being truthful. And when someone tells you who they are, it would be rude to not consider it as fact. So, without magic, you are able to tell me what's going on in the lands of the dead that has rippled from Chicago all the way into Canada, and as far west as I think as far west as Minneapolis, perhaps farther. You no longer have whatever this item was, but you're willing to tell me who does, which would give me clues as to what it actually might have been. All while disguising the fact that I asked to have access to your center of power, because this isn't the first time that you, as a group, as the shelter, have done something that has caused repercussions and ripples across our entire community. Which means it's not something that you just lost, I'm sure. Though I'm sure whatever this other item is just as interesting, just as powerful, or just as valuable. So, am I barking up the wrong tree? That's where I have to decide on whether I'm going to put my money or not. And I believe that this is an end around, but one that you think will be distracting enough.
Taking a deep unnecessary breath, but she looks right at Tessa, connecting eyes with her, and says, I give you both my word in spirit and in letter that Sophia is, as she says, and can do as she says, and that I will hold up that end of the bargain.
I see. Well, it is getting late, and you all need sanctuary while I make calls to get Prince Decker. Luckily, not too far from here are several places where we might alight for the night. Give you all sanctuary during the upcoming day. So, would you like me to take you to safety and then you relay what you know? And I promise on my word and on my blood that you will survive all of the grief and troubles that would normally come your way. While we don't have the number of primage and cancer that you all have, and while we don't have all of the red tape moving back and forth, I can assure you on my word that you'll be safe, secure, and tomorrow night I will introduce you to Prince Decker.
Tomorrow night we actually already have arrangements to leave the city.
Look at that. So then it works out in everyone's regard. I can provide you safety and sanctuary to keep you free from the Anubi hunting you in the streets. you can provide me with information, and I will be able to tell Prince Decker, or more accurately, his Hound of Song, that you all no longer needed the appointment and that you were on your way.
Seems fair to me.
What do you all say? Is everybody in the accord? I already have Regent Green's word that you are being accurate and honest, and that she will hold you to that. But it's not just the three of us here, and I need to make sure that we are all on the same page, because I don't want to, well, have you all do something reprehensible under my protection.
That case.
Oh, go ahead.
In
You're
that
very
case-
quiet, though.
Is this better?
Yes.
In that case, we're in agreement.
I like agreements. Okay.
Miriam will nod.
Miriam will not.
She'll nod.
Miriam digresses that she will accord herself honorably and not betray the agreement on the table, or would she say that she will?
You will. She agrees.
Oh. No duplicitousness filters through Miriam in this moment, even though the option is very much there. While she didn't directly disparage the movement, there was an air of, "You're one of those," to her statements about the painted lady and Arzuli and Mama Walden. Not to say that the beast is petty, but it did invent the word petty. And the considerations of exploiting the safety of this Miss Green, who was not your Miss Green, is very much there. Because it's oftentimes not the spoken insult that carries the most weight. It's the unspoken dismissiveness that eats away. Sitting there in the middle of a conversation, taking all of the life and light from it. The hinted at, you're one of those that eats away at any bit of positivity. Well, I suppose being as my night is over, I should get you all to safety, and then we can sit down and we can talk until the cows come home. This is a friend with incredible amounts of political power that he would never use for anyone, including himself, except for under the most direst of circumstances. I can assure you that the Prince's voice will take 100% great care of you. He will ensure that you all remain safe, and I'm sure that he is very much in need of company. And she stands up to prepare leaving, and then she sees Anton, and her mood dowers even more. Anton is pointing two fingers at the bartender. His voice, while clearly forceful, isn't raised enough to make it to you over the sound of music. And Tessa shakes her head and sucks her teeth, looking on in absolute dismay. Like, are you fucking serious? You can't take him anywhere.
Just kind of looks at the others. Don't be too hard on him. He still really likes you.
he know he has a raw employment for me. Come on. It's only a 5.5 block walk. We can make it from here without having to deal with him. And she stalks towards him. While not a large woman, not overly tall or wide or overly muscled, there's something as dangerous in that stalking as watching a lioness unnoticed ease closer and closer to one of the gazelle's young left unattended. Do you all follow along, or do you wait?
No, it seems kind of private.
Yeah, but it's bound to be interesting, though.
It's a club. I can't eavesdrop from over here.
So I take it that's the way we go.
Does Lucio and Miriam hang back?
Miriam will hang back because she doesn't want to be rude.
That will also be Lucio's decision.
So as Tessa, Hestia, and Sophia eases through the crowd towards Anton, with the music on this floor, in this space of the bar, being conversationally loud. It's the sort of loud that requires you to be closer to each other than you normally would for a healthy conversation. In that moment of shared closeness, and with it just being Lucio and Miriam, do any of the revelations, do any of the most recent happenings enter into their conversation, or do they just stare after Tessa, Hestia, and Sophia?
I guess Lucio will just start the conversation. You know, Miriam, you and I really haven't had much chance to talk recently. I just want to get your thoughts on how everything's been going. I know you joined us because you were looking for protection, and, well, things haven't exactly gone in the safest direction for us, but you've stuck around.
Nothing if not interesting.
That's certainly been the case.
I've learned a lot more than I thought I would. Y'all are crazy. Just saying.
I'm beginning to realize that too.
Not always a bad thing. I mean, going out in the, deep fryer might not have been a great idea.
Yep, still hurts. Still hurts. I mean, it made sense at the time. I was mortal. And then, when the light hit, I wasn't. Funny how that works.
Welcome to the world of supernatural. Not sure Sam and Dean would have made any sense of it either, but it's fine. But yeah, We're doing our best over here.
Speaking of doing your best, there's a seldom realized facet of staring into the abyss. It's one that's loosely touched on when everyone's saying if you stare into the void stares back, and all of that stuff that people have grown accustomed to hearing. Those aphorisms that are tossed out, wrote and letter by most adults of any age. But there's a reality to it. That never-ending nothingness that is at the heart of oblivion. That ability to appear between this world through the next into the worlds beyond leaves its mark on you all, as you've all felt you're more comfortable and at peace in areas that are absolutely rife with supernatural energies. The shelter is a hub of supernatural energies. It is the deepest part of the deepest part of the deepest portion of the ocean. The weight and magnitude of all of that energy that bombards and bombarded you on a consistent basis is such that it would have killed lesser men, as the saying goes. And yet, you've all survived, grown accustomed to, and thrive in that heady weight. Not much truly surprises you. Things annoy you and piss you off, and there's always a new horror to discover, but not much surprises you. You all adapt and adjust to the impossible without thinking about it most times. So as Blue walks in the door, as you see Sophia, Hestia, and Tessa corner Anton, while you're not surprised, you are definitely a little annoyed. While at the end of the bar, Anton, child, did we not have this conversation? You cannot collect when you come to see me. I don't care, Tessa. He, like all of the dirtiest blood freaks, owes me, and he is going to pay. Now, if you make another scene in one of my clubs, I swear, Tessa, you know I would never do anything to purposely harm you, but my reputation is on the line here. He's 3 weeks, and you can extend him another week. You, being your own boss, can offer a payment plan. You do this to get my attention. It's almost like you enjoy seeing me angry at you. That's not that. I miss her. You said that she'd be alright. You said that the Setites would take care of her. You said that she'd be safe. The pause is deafening. Tessa stares at him as if she could see the inner workings of his mind. Tessa stares at him as if she can make sense of him and the gobbledygook he just spewed, as if it needs to add up to something, as if she needs to solve both sides of the equation. And in doing so, she needs her focus. In doing so, the words, the gift of gab that she formerly believed she had seemed to have left her. And as cold as it is, as a little bit impersonal as it is, if your safety, if your sanctuary loses their shit, you don't have any safety or sanctuary. If your protector, the person who's going to vouch for you and make sure that you're not hunted through the night, loses their shit, you're not very safe. And part of you, the part of you that is pragmatic, the part of you that has been trained in the ways of the Hekata, the parts of you that are the logical portions of the beast, begin speaking up. If she loses, if she frenzies, if she, it is clear whatever was said is a point of contention. It is clear that whatever is said, and it goes on and on and on, refusing to let you all stand there in silence. What is it that you all do?
Sophia will move forward and address the man who seems to be causing the problem, at least the one who is aggressing enough to make the other one lose their shit, and kind of intervene herself into the conversation between them a little bit and say, so shall we discuss the payment for what I owe you before I make the next payment to your esteemed colleague that you have sent me to?
And seeing that Sophia's handling and the guy, Tess will kind of turn towards Tessa and get her attention by Tessa. You know men are really stupid, so don't pay him any mind, okay?
Turning to her, Tessa, as close as you are, you see the moisture well up in her eyes. You see the vitae-tinged liquid begin to pool and collect. Having interceded between Tessa and staring at Anton, you can feel the heat of actual passion. And it is not a heat that most kindred are able to generate, but it is one that you've noticed more in the hands of Bruja and Outlanders, i.e. Gangrel, and occasionally the truly inspired Toreador. It is a seldom thing that kindred are able to generate the true heat of real emotion, but it is clear that whoever he mentioned, whoever he was speaking of, mattered to him, mattered to them both. And from the details earlier in the evening, and from the exchange, the tossed off, it is clear who they were speaking of, who they shared an affection for. And unable to see spirits naturally, unable to really stare into the wide world of the other side, but able to feel them, you watch as his breath begins to fog the air between you a little bit. You feel that quietude in the world around you that only happens in the presence of the unnatural. You smell a mixture of Draco Noir, Old Spice, and even though you don't know how you know it smells like a combination of Sport and Ways and Carefree products. You smell it, you can feel it sliding along your skin, a slight hint of oiliness to it. And as you hear that voice, that half in the throat and half at the back of the mouth. Well, motherfuckers.
Is mouthing to herself, no, what the fuck? No. Shit. I can't believe this. She kind of glances towards Sophia, even though she's figuring Sophia's got her back to Hess right now, and she's just kind of like... She says, loud enough for Sophia to hear. Blue. And then looks back at Tess.
How much time is left in the night at this point?
About 3 hours.
What if perhaps you could speak to her again? What would that be worth?
I'd owe you. And then Tessa adds, we both owe you a lot. Motherfuckers, y'all really don't learn, do you? Playing around with all sorts of motherfucking shit that you shouldn't motherfucking be touching.
Be grateful I don't touch you. And I will look back at the others, and or the ones I'm addressing. Say I cannot promise that it can be done. I do not know if she still lingers, and it would not be long, but perhaps it would be a bit of closure for you both.
Hope is a very dangerous thing. In fact, it is one of the most surefire ways to truly kill anything. Hope can be devastating. It can rearrange an entire person's existence. And in that moment, Sophia sees that very real possibility. Hope is there. There's a pleading need in them, a very exploitable weakness in them. That hope. And then there's Blue. While there's no such thing as a harbinger of chaos or an actual sign of the apocalypse, he comes very close to being just that. There's not been one instance where he's been involved where something catastrophic was not in the offing, where some force was attempting to distract you or urge you forward into doing something absolutely apocalyptic. And while you're able to tune him out as you have before, tuning him out isn't exactly what you're doing. You're choosing to ignore the width and bulk of his very colorful use of the word motherfucker as a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb. He literally has found a way to redefine the variability and varied uses of the word.
I would need something of hers that was of value, and we would need to be about it. There's not much time left in the night, and I will need some time to prepare. And again, I make no promises, but I will attempt.
Then we need to raise her. We need to get her. We need to say goodbye. And Barth would need to say goodbye too. Come on, we need to go. Y'all motherfuckers don't just go. And he keeps prattling on and on and on and on and on and refuses to stop talking. And again, he's attempting to either stop you or urge you forward into the abyss. Which one it is indecipherable amidst the non-stop oral vomit that he is spewing all over your conversations. Not quite able to deafen the conversation. The clear need in Tessa, the clear need in Anton, but very close. motherfucker will be your soundtrack. And watching Blue accost and prattle around and leer into the face of Sophia, and for the first time, Miriam, you wish you didn't have the ability to see into that world. You wish you hadn't learned through osmosis and through presence that there was a wider world around you at all times. And yet, here Blue is again. 2 hours from Chicago, behind enemy lines. And here he is. And seeing him leer and attempt to get into the face of and otherwise verbally assault Sophia and Hestia, what is it that you two are doing?
Well, if he doesn't seem to have noticed it already, Miriam will kind of nudge Lucio and gesture with her head towards Blue. What are the odds?
It has to be intentional. Only we could fucking find his fat and get rid of it once and for all.
So, to be quite frankly honest, it is quite easy to get the accoutrements and ingredients that you need for the potential ritual. The gathering of the implements is surprisingly easy when you are dealing with a regent-level Tremere who has access to all of the stores of their local chantry, who has associates, hierophants, and acolytes to do their will and their whim. What is out of the ordinary is you all settled into DJ Barth's basement, which is literally 5.5 blocks from where you currently are. Is that this tall, gangly, barely out of their youth person died violently by another kindred. And this gangly, barely old enough to shave kindred is the voice of Prince Decker. And while you have the acolytes coming and leaving and dropping things off and bringing this and that and getting things ready for you all in the basement, you hear him non-stop into his little headset, into his earpiece. And this is DJ Barth going on and on as if he's actually giving a show instead of talking to somebody on the phone. Those little earpieces you've seen, Lucio, you haven't had the opportunity, but you know that they're headphones and they're usually, just for phones, but he's using it and talking nonstop to something that's not there. While Blue in the background is motherfucker this, motherfucker that, motherfucker that, and going on and on and on. And as the ritual pieces are collected and as the area is prepared, Sophia is leading and directing the goings on. As time does what it always does. This time, ever the thief of always eats away your night, several realizations come to the fore. While you've all grown accustomed to doing the impossible, while you've all grown accustomed to the pressures of this supernatural existence in which you attempt to live, there is not one normal, non-impossible evening you've all had for over the full width and breadth of your most recent memories. The connection to the mundane doesn't exist for you all. You all exist in the echelon of things that are always potentially world-shattering. And as you all watch as the bounds between this world and the next are severed, and Sophia does that witchy thing that she witches does so well, communing with the dead and deceased, and Blue attempts to distract her and you all and interject themselves into conversations and thoughts that have nothing to do with him. The realities of where you all are hit you all full bore. If this was the shelter, if this was Sophia's haven, if this was most of the places in which you congregate throughout the Chicagoland area, you would have been inundated with hundreds, if not thousands of souls. You would have had to fight them off tooth and nail. You would have had to... And those thoughts flitter away as the sound of cloth tearing abrades your ears, as the sound of something not meant to tear is ripped asunder. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode, and I will see you next week in season 17. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.